So my daughter got me this for Christmas last year, right? And as much as I love the intention behind it and the thoughtfulness behind it, my daughter is such a sweetheart, and me and her have a really strong emotional bond, really strong emotional connection, to the point where, like, sometimes I might have something on my mind, or maybe it's a little something heavy that I'm going through, and I think that I'm still operating in the same capacity. I feel like I'm not showing my children, that I'm going through something, but she'll still notice. Even if I'm laughing and cracking jokes still, she's kind of just like, "Are you okay, Daddy?" Like, it's just, I don't know, I love it. It's the most beautiful thing in the world, the connection that we have. But this gift made me real uncomfortable. Real uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable with it since I've gotten it. And I've talked to her about it. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just bashing her gift for the world to see or anything like that. But it did make me really uncomfortable for a while. Just because I didn't know what my daughter was seeing when she looks at her dad. Like, does she see a broken man, or somebody that wasn't able to move on past this, or to be able to, quote unquote, let this go? And I didn't want her to think that it's something that still affects me in that way, right? Where I'm just constantly missing this and wishing this or thinking this, or however she might be perceiving it. And so that brought me to my uncle wanting me to put my story out there for people to hopefully gain something from it. Maybe somebody can avoid some of the pitfalls or some of the confusing feelings that you have along the way while processing grief and dealing with trauma, or while dealing with trauma and processing grief. I think that sounds better. But yeah, he's been wanting me to write a book for a long time about my story. And for the longest, I just couldn't see where my story was so significant that people should just sit down and listen to it, because I was 6 years old when it happened. So for me, life has just been life. Like, I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's something that I had to go through. At 6 years old, you don't have a choice but to go with whichever way life is basically dragging you, right? So I didn't really see, like, just this extreme significance as far as the car accident, losing my parents, and the journey through processing that grief along the way, the things that I went through, the things that I learned. And then, honestly, as a result of some of the things that I went through, I didn't really see where I had done anything like substantial enough or made enough of an impact on the world to have people take advice from me. It's like, and I'm not trying to bash myself, but just thinking about it back during the days when I was first trying to get it on paper and first trying to put it out there and stuff, I'm just kind of like, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a social media influencer. What makes people want to listen to me, right? Like, what am I telling them that they can make it through it? What am I telling people they can make it to, right? And that was just a result of things that I went through that made me view myself kind of in that light. And then another thing that kept me from doing it is really, like, the idea, he's telling me that this is going to be a testimony, right? And that everything happens for a reason, God makes no mistakes and stuff. So I have this message to put out to people, but I need to write a book that I'm going to have to charge people $20, $30 for, so that they can get that message. And I kind of struggle with that idea. Like, if this is a message that I'm supposed to put out to people, I don't see how I should be sitting here trying to make a profit off of it, right? And it was just, it was a multitude of things that really just kept me from putting the story out there. I have close friends that know some of the surface level stuff that I went through. But as far as putting it down on paper and trying to make it sound all cohesive and get all of my ideas out there, my mind already runs 1,000,000 miles an hour. And to try and put all of the thoughts that I'm having as I'm going through this story, this is my life story, right? It's just hard to make it like, you know, I'm writing something down and I'm like, oh man, I need to go back here and do this. It got frustrating, it got overwhelming for me. So that was something I battled with too. And then the biggest thing is just how vulnerable I have to be in order to put this story out there, because I'm literally gonna be allowing people into the most darkest, saddest, most confused times of my life. And so I worried about how that would be received and what that would look like ultimately. But eventually, like I said, this I think was kind of like the turning point for me when she gave me this gift right here. This was the turning point, because above all else, I do want my children to see me, or I don't want my children to think that this is something that I just carry in a negative way throughout my whole life. This happened 30 years ago. I don't even really feel the same about this picture. This picture actually like is very significant in my life. And nowadays, now I'm looking at this picture, I'm like almost the same age with my mom and my dad. I can't, this is my big brother, but I can't see him as my big brother because, you know, he's frozen time. He's 9 years old. So this picture doesn't even affect me the way that it used to affect me. And I'm thankful for that, as crazy as it sounds. I've been dragging it already. It's 6 minutes in, but I still have to say, like, throughout telling this story, I'm gonna say some things that some family members might take wrong, or it might hurt some feelings and stuff like that, but I don't hold anything against anybody. Every part of my story made me the person that I am today, and I'm proud of the person that I am today. It took me a long time to get to the point where I was proud of the person that I am. To even really like myself, it took a very long time in my life for me to reach that point. So I don't hold anything against anybody. I worked hard for my peace. I worked hard to get where I am, so I can't just let anybody just take that and just do what they want with it. So just a disclaimer, it might be some uncomfortable stuff. I'm not attacking my family. I don't want to make anybody sound bad, sound evil, anything like that. But some of the feelings and stuff, some of the things that I had to go through along my journey to get better, I mean, it was a result of some interactions that I had with people close to me. So it just is what it is. So the story starts off, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. It was me, my mom, my dad, and my older brother, right? We were already just kind of living an unorthodox life to start off with. My mom was deaf. She couldn't talk. My older brother, my dad, he had some type of partial hearing loss or a speech impediment. I don't really know exactly what it was, but he had some type of disability as far as speech or hearing goes. And so kind of unorthodox already, because I'm growing up speaking sign language. When we would go to the store, like, we would have to take my older brother every time so that he could translate what was going on with the cashiers and stuff like that. So on top of that, you know, my dad was like really abusive. He was a really angry dude. He was addicted to crack. And so, you know, we would experience some things that were associated with that. He would abuse our mom. He would abuse us. It was kind of scary growing up with him sometimes, because you just didn't know what he was doing. He was kind of unpredictable. He was kind of unstable with it. But me and my older brother, like, we were like stuck together like glue. Like, we ran the apartment complex all day. Wherever I was, he was. Wherever he was, I was. Only time we really like separated was when it was time to go to class at school. So it was really just me and my older brother, like, all day running the apartment complex from sun up to sundown, pretty much doing whatever we wanted. I was a little troublemaker. I was like a Dennis the Menace type of kid. I'm not even lying. Like, always getting into something. Had a woman showed up to our apartment one time saying she wanted to press charges on me and my older brother because we wouldn't stop harassing her son. I was just always doing something reckless. I don't know. Something was wrong with me. I ain't gonna lie. Bouncing on the back of a car. Atlanta has all of these hills, if I remember correctly. Has all of these hills, and like I was bouncing on the back of a car, and I don't know, the parking brake disengaged, and it took off down the hill, crashed in the back of another car. I was a I was a menace, not gonna lie. But it's summer of 1995. I'm 6 years old. My older brother's 9 years old. My baby brother is 11 months old. And our dad comes in and he tells us we're going to Louisiana, go and visit my mom's side of the family. And so me and my older brother, we're excited because, you know, it's summer vacation, road trip, we're going to Louisiana. Not necessarily to come to see my mom's side of the family because we didn't really have a relationship with them yet. All I knew is that when we came down here, I was always getting in trouble. Somebody always wanted to whoop my butt. I was getting fussed at, all of that. So I didn't even really necessarily feel like this side of the family liked me all that much. We didn't have any type of connection or anything like that. We were much more familiar with my dad's side of the family. Big Mama, his mom, and my Uncle Earl, and, you know, just the family on that side, because we saw them all the time. Uncle Earl was living with us in in Atlanta for a little while. And so, just much more familiar with them. But we, you know, excited that we're going on a road trip, et cetera, et cetera. And then on top of that, he tells us that we're going to be getting an allowance from now on. And we were growing up kind of poor. Like, I remember going to school, I wanted to get breakfast one morning. I seen everybody else getting breakfast at school, and I wanted to get breakfast. And so my mom, I remember her like digging through her pouch and like literally putting pennies together to try to be able to pay for me to get breakfast just for one morning. So we were living kind of poor and stuff. So for my dad to tell us we was getting an allowance, I'm just kind of like, dang, like, we rich now. Me and my older brother, we trying to figure out what we're going to buy. We trying to add up how long it takes to get to this amount, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, so we're getting on, you know, my mom starts getting our stuff together. We helping, running behind her and stuff like that. Me and my older brother tried to see who could stay up the longest that night. And for all my numerology people, I remember staying up to 12:12. I don't know the significance of 12:12. I never really looked it up. But I remember seeing 12:12 before I fell asleep. Woke up the next day, start packing everything up. We see a few of our friends, tell them we're going to Atlanta. Dude named Moses. I can't remember the other guy's name. But jump in the car and we get on the road. And I'm a wide-eyed kid. Like, I was always intrigued by scenery, architecture, big buildings. Like when we'd be going downtown Atlanta, I was always just intrigued by all of that type of stuff. So in my mind, I stayed up the whole time. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. In my mind, I did. But I remember knowing enough to know when we got to the Mississippi River Bridge. I knew what that was, and I knew that meant that we were kind of close to our destination, because Atlanta to Lake Charles, Louisiana is like a 10, 11-hour trip, depending what part you're coming from. So we made the trip all right. This is July 3rd. Made the trip all right, got in late at night, so we went to sleep, me and my older brother and my baby brother. And my mom and my dad, they just stayed up, you know, talking with my grandparents and stuff. So we wake up in the morning and my dad come in and he tells us we're going to Monroe now. And so we're confused because we just spent the whole day driving and we went to sleep and we didn't even get to really spend no time out here. But we're not mad at all because now we're going to Big Mama house. So, you know, like I said, we kids, basically, we got to go with whatever's going on. My dad takes me with him to go to the car wash. We were in a rental and he wants to clean out the rental or whatever. So we go to the car wash, me and him, and like I said, I was a little bad kid. I did something, I stepped in something outside the car, like some mud or something like that, some oil maybe. And then I jumped in the car and put my footprints on the front, on the floor, on the front passenger seat. So I got whooped a little bit for that at the car wash. Just always doing something crazy to get a butt whooping, man. I was a handful. But yeah, so we did that, and when we left there, we went to get firecrackers. And so my mind is blown. Like, we're living the life right now. This is crazy. Like, summer vacation, road trip, going to Monroe. We're gonna have firecrackers to pop. Life is good. We're getting an allowance and all of that. So life is good. So we go back, we go pick up my mom, my older brother, and my baby brother. And I remember being overcast. I remember it being overcast like the whole time. From the time we woke up and went to the car wash to coming back and picking up my brother and my mom and my brothers and my mom. It was overcast. Like it was getting ready to rain. But we jumped back on the road and we headed to Monroe. And along the way to Monroe, there's a casino. It's kind of like one of the bigger name casinos out here. And my dad, he's got this preoccupation with money. He's got this weird fixation, I guess you would say, about money. And in my older life, I talked to my uncle about it, and he explained like my dad was really kind of like mad at God. He had a grudge against God because he had this disability, and he felt like the disability is what was keeping him from becoming a millionaire or being wealthy or however. So he had a grudge against God, and he was just real weird about money. He was always buying scratch-offs. He had a pyramid that he would sleep underneath, and I was weirded out about it. I didn't know what was going on with that, but another conversation with my uncle, and he explained that that was like a ritual type thing. It was an upside-down pyramid, and it was supposed to like focus energy towards you to where you would become wealthy, whatever, however. I don't know. It was some strange stuff. But so there's a casino along the way, and so he stops off there, obviously to go gamble or whatever. And so we go in, and he tries to bring us to like the little daycare part or the little kids center. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was like the old school McDonald's play area type thing. So he goes to bring me and my older brother and my baby brother there, I believe. And I think him and my mom originally were gonna go gamble, but it wound up either being too expensive or my little brother was too young because he was 11 months old. And I think it might have been a combination of both. I don't know. But I remember us not being able to go in, and so my dad took us to the arcade instead. He took me. He was going to leave my mom with us, and he was going to go gamble on his own. So they took us to the arcade, and he gave her $10 for us to get tokens and stuff. So we in there playing. This is 1995. This is when like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and all of that is just first coming out and stuff, Donkey Kong and all of that. So we just playing the arcade games. We don't have nothing like this at home. Like I said, we were poor, so we didn't have no game system or anything like that. So we just playing arcade games, waiting on our dad to come back. And when he does come back, it's like his whole demeanor changed. He wasn't like the nice guy talking about allowance and buying firecrackers anymore. He was mad. And we didn't know at the time, you know, with kids, we didn't know, but we just knew, we could tell that, you know, he was on some BS. So we like kind of like stiffened up because we don't know what happened, who did what, and what's about to happen to who. Because that's just how stuff would go with him, right? So he comes in, he's going off. He's mad at my mom because she used the whole $10. And he's mad at us because we still have tokens left over, and we didn't even play games that we could win prizes or something to that effect. And I'm just like, no, me and my older brother, it was just weird. He was just always mad about something. But he's mad. He's fussing the whole time we're leaving out the casino and stuff, walking to the car. When we're walking to the car, it starts drizzling, right? And we get in the car, we get back on the road, and like it just starts raining like crazy, like thunderstorm and just hurricaning almost. I don't know if anybody's been through a hurricane, but it's like almost like hurricane-like weather. In my 6-year-old mind anyway. I'm 36 years old now. This is a story 30 years in the making, so some of the details might be a little hazy, might be a little foggy, so just stick with me. In my 6-year-old mind, it was storming. It was like a hurricane, right? So me and my older brother in the back seat, but we're on the floor though. And I'm sitting behind my mom, and my older brother is sitting behind my dad. And my dad is fussing at my mom still, and my mom is deaf and mute. He has some type of hearing impairment or something like that. They're fussing in sign language. In the middle of this thunderstorm, they fussing, well, not they. He's fussing in sign language. It definitely was a one-sided thing. But hands not on the steering wheel, whatever. So we're playing in the back. It's just taking those same little tokens that he was mad about, and we're flipping over. There's like a little hump in the middle between where you put your feet down in the back seat. And we were just flipping the tokens over the middle, trying to, just something to keep us occupied on the trip, because the trip from, like I said, the trip from Atlanta to Lake Charles is like 10, 11 hours, depending on where you're coming from. And then the trip from Lake Charles to Monroe, that was probably like another 4 hours. It's like a 3.5 hour trip now. And back then it was just 2 lanes. It was 1 lane going north, 1 lane going south. So probably like a 4.5 hour trip back then. So just something to keep us occupied along the way, flipping the tokens over the middle of the thing. My baby brother is in his car seat, right? He's sitting in his car seat. He's buckled into the car seat, and the car seat is buckled to the seat of the car. I know this for sure because when we were at the car wash, my dad took it out, vacuumed and everything, and then he buckled back in. And that was my first time seeing how the car seat was actually buckled to the seat of the car. I never really understood how that worked. So I know for sure his car seat was buckled, right? So we're playing the game, and my older brother is like, Morris switched spots with me, because if dad leans back, he's gonna squish me. And he's a big brother, so, you know, I just follow whatever he was saying. So we switched spots. So now I'm sitting behind my dad, and he's sitting behind my mom. And I remember when I was crossing over, I seen the window. I looked out the windshield, and it looked like a sheet of water on the windshield. Like, I didn't understand how my dad was seeing out the windshield. I felt like I would have had to put my head out the window to even see, to be able to drive. So I was just weirded out about it. It was like I literally couldn't see anything else but water running down the windshield. And that's the last memory that I have. Yeah, that's the last memory that I have before I woke up. And I mean, I just went out. I mean, that's the last memory that I have. But then when I woke up, some of this is stuff that I haven't talked about in a long time, a very long time. And it's not that I still struggle with it. It's just now that I'm like verbalizing, I've been, over the past like few months actually, I've been kind of just trying to put my thoughts together on how to put this story out there. And the main ideas that I wanted to like highlight, the tips and all of that stuff. But along the way, I'm noticing that like, as I'm going through it and trying to like narrow down certain aspects of the story, like it brings me back to certain places. And not, like I said, not in a bad way. I'm definitely like in an extremely good place, like in my life now. The most peace that I've had in a long time. Super blessed. I just thank God for where I am right now, right? But going through the story does kind of bring me back to those places a little bit. So just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me. I'm good, I promise. Just bear with me. But so I woke up, right? I woke up and the first thing I see, like me and my dad are face to face like this, like super close. And we're laying down on the ceiling, and our heads are pointed towards the back window, feet towards the front window. And I guess I know I'm laying on my left hand side. I guess my dad maybe was laying on his right or laying on his stomach. I don't really know, but I know we were face to face like this. And the look that he had on his face is like his eyes were super wide, his mouth was wide open. And it just looked like it was this look of terror, this look of horror. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it, but how I try, the emotion that I tied to that now that I'm an adult, the emotion that I tied to that expression is like, I just messed up really bad. Like, I'm looking at my son and I did something so bad that I hurt my son, and it might not be something that can be undone, to put it social media worthy. It looked like he had just messed up so bad that he knew like it would never be the same. But at the same time, even at 6 years old, when I'm seeing him, I can already tell that he's not here anymore, right? They're like, there's no life behind his eyes. And just out of pure survival instincts, I guess, or just, you know, fight or flight, your body just kind of takes over. I start pulling myself out of the car. I don't necessarily remember like actually crawling out of the car, but I know I ended up out of the car on my own. So I pulled myself out. Like I said, just give me a minute. Like I said, some of this is just stuff that I haven't talked about in a long time. And it's things that a lot of people, even people very close to me in my family, haven't heard before. Like, all growing up, I don't know if anybody in my family ever heard this story or know that I saw the things that I saw or anything like that. But I pulled myself out of the car. The first thing I remember seeing was another vehicle. And it looked like that vehicle had got chopped in half. It was like a gray station wagon or hatchback type vehicle. I don't know. But it looked like somebody had just chopped it in half. And like kind of opened it up a little bit. I didn't see anybody else in that vehicle. I don't remember seeing anybody in the vehicle, but I remember in my 6-year-old mind thinking that it had just got chopped in half, right? And so I hear my little brother crying. And so I turn around, I look back in the car, and like I said, my little brother was strapped. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. This is on everything I love. My little brother was strapped to the seat of the car. His car seat was strapped to the seat of the car. The car is upside down now. But my little brother is sitting right side up, pretty much right by where I was laying. And like, there's just carnage all around. The vehicle is a mess. It's like a twisted soda can. And he's sitting like right side up. He had a little bit of blood in the middle of his forehead, but he's moving his arms, he's moving his legs. And at this moment in time, like, I'm not even making really like my own decisions. Like I said, it's just pure survival instinct. So it's not that I was looking for him to be alive. I just, you know, he is alive. I go up to him to try to get him out of his car seat, but I realized I can't move my left arm. And it didn't hurt. I don't remember it hurting at that time, but I couldn't move it, so I couldn't get him out of his car seat. So like, I'm kind of just standing in the middle of the road now, like on the yellow line. And this car's passing me up. I'm kind of just standing there, still in shock. I know kind of what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's my next move. I'm 6 years old. I don't know what's my next move. I'm just kind of standing there, and it's thunderstorming, lightning, raining hard, and this car is just like passing me up. And I think I was kind of just waiting there for somebody to just stop and like figure it out for me, because I feel like that's what any like young kid like that would do, right? A 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid. I think they would just kind of wait around and wait for somebody to figure it out for them, somebody to come help them out. And so I'm just standing there like I'm on the yellow line, and I see a few vehicles driving up to me, and they passing me by. And then it's like this big white RV that starts coming my way. And I'm like fixated on it. My eye, just following it with my eyes, and it's coming towards me, you know, coming towards my left to my right. And I'm following it with my eyes, I remember seeing people looking through the windows and everything. And I'm following it with my eyes, and then when I get to my right side, I see my older brother in the middle of the road. He got through out the car. And the skin on his leg, it was peeled, it was peeling back. And I remember at that time, in my 6-year-old mind, I kind of equated it to like a can of biscuits. When you open a can of biscuits and you take all the biscuits out or whatever, the can is still kind of like in a spiral. That's what it looked like to me was happening to his leg. Like the flesh was like just being peeled back like in a spiral. And all of like, my memories are just kind of like flashes. Like, it's not just one scene and it's just a flowing narrative or whatever. I was just like flashing in and out. I remember seeing like a railroad track that stuck out to me for a long time. There was a railroad track in the woods, It was a creepy looking railroad track. It was like wooden. It was like over a gully or whatever, because it happened on a bridge. It's passing over the gully like these wooden stakes and all this stuff. It was a creepy looking railroad track. Well, I just like flash in and flash out. So as soon as I see my older brother, next thing I remember is a man running up to me from like a red Chevy Blazer type vehicle. And he's running up to me and he comes to me and I did the first thing that I knew to do. And I was just like, my daddy dead, my daddy dead, my daddy dead, my dad. I start crying. And he's like, no, he's like, you know, everything's all right. I'm gonna put you in my car. We're gonna get it figured out, et cetera, whatever. Just trying to calm me down like you would any 6-year-old kid. And so the story that my uncle gave me is that the man told him when he ran up to me, I was trying to wake up my older brother. I don't remember that, and I don't really understand why I would have been trying to wake up my older brother. I knew when I saw my dad that he was gone. And I feel like I knew when I saw my older brother that I knew that he was gone too, because he was laying in the middle of the road and he had this, I mean, just, it looked bad. It looked bad. So I feel like I knew both of them were gone, so I don't understand why I would have been trying to wake, I would have tried to wake anybody up. But at the same time, like I said, these memories are like flashes, and the spot that I was standing in when I saw the RV is a different spot than I was standing in when the man ran up to me. So I know that for sure. So it could possibly be true that I was trying to wake him up, but I don't remember that. So, and thankfully, because it was already kind of hard enough to navigate all of the other stuff that I did see. He puts me in his car. I'm crying. I'm cold. The AC is blowing on me real hard. I've been standing in the rain. I'm wet. I'm cold. You know, it's uncomfortable to say the least. But then I notice there's another little boy up in the car, and I look back and I see him, and he's all cut up and bruised up, and he looks terrible. He looks real bad off, to the point where it made me stop crying. But I mean, obviously I hadn't seen myself, but it made me stop crying, because I'm like, dang, I'm like, man, he looked pretty bad. He looked like he got messed up. So I'm just sitting there, and I guess, you know, that handling whatever is going on outside. And the next thing I know, it's another flash, and they putting me in the ambulance. And then it's another flash, and I'm in the ambulance. Oh no, it's another flash, they're getting me out of the car, and then it's another flash, they put me in the ambulance. So the ambulance ride was scary because I wasn't up on the stretcher. I was on like the little rescue board, I guess you would call it. It's like a little orange board that you see them like trying to rescue people off of mountains and stuff like that. I know somebody knows what I'm talking about. But they had me on that little thing on the ground. I'm like strapped into it. So like if I'm seeing stuff like shaking in the ambulance because we riding to the hospital, and I'm laying there and I'm like, man, I hope they paying attention. I'm looking at the other people because they got the other little boy in there and he's up on the stretcher. And so I'm just laying there and I'm like, man, I hope they paying attention. They don't let nothing fall on me, because I can't even block it. You know what I'm saying? I can't pick up my hand because I'm strapped. So I flash again. They're pushing me through the hospital. And it was like this twilight effect. It was like this tunnel vision type thing. Like the lights would start off really small down here and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it just felt like I was being pushed through a portal, or it was like some otherworldly type stuff. I can't really put an explanation on it, but that stuck out to me too. And then they finally put me in a room, and they start, you know, doing a little, you know, trying to get me right or whatever, trying to shake me back. And I remember the doctor walking to the doorway, and he had like my dad's black book, and he keeps, you know, that's what he kept all his phone numbers and his addresses, all the important information. That's what he would keep it in. So they start asking me names, and I don't know how much help I really was, but because I don't know. There's a lot of nicknames on my mom's side of the family, and I don't know if I knew their actual names. Like on my dad's side of the family, I knew I could probably name a few people out of that, but I don't know how helpful I was with all of that. But I remember the doctor asking me those questions, and then one of the nurses said, "Can you open your eye?" And when she said that, I don't know, that's when all of the pain kind of started coming in. Like I could feel it it hurt really bad. It felt like somebody was like trying to push a screwdriver into my brain. That's how bad it felt. And I like started crying a little bit, and I'm like, I can't open it, I can't open it. And they're like, you sure? This, that, and the other. Let's cut the light off, trying to, make some accommodations to see if they could get it open or whatever. And I'm telling them I'm crying. I'm like, I can't open it, I can't open it. And they start like trying to open it with their fingers and stuff like that, so I naturally start like trying to fight back. And it's to the point where like they're holding me down, they're holding my arms and my legs down, because I'm a little wild. Like I said, I'm a little wild kid. And I'm thinking in that moment that they're trying to kill me. I'm thinking that, like, even though I know my baby brother is alive, I'm like, mom's dead. Oh, I didn't know mom was dead yet. I hadn't seen her. I didn't see her during the whole little ordeal at the site of the wreck. I was told she was like stuffed under the dashboard. I don't know. I didn't see her, but I knew my dad was dead. I knew my older brother was dead. And I figured, I just assumed, I hadn't seen her. And even though she's like deaf and she's mute, I figured, I'm going through all of this pain. I'm going through this whole crazy little situation, and I haven't seen her. So I assumed that she had died too. I mean, I was with it enough to know it was a car accident. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just like, it wasn't like it was just completely unknown to me that something had happened. So I had just assumed that she was already gone. And so like, they're holding me down, doing all this stuff, and I'm like, they're trying to kill me because, everybody else is dead. Like, since I don't have anybody to live with anymore, I don't have anybody to take care of me anymore, they're trying to take me out too. That's what I was thinking in my 6-year-old mind. And so they stopped, because I'm screaming bloody murder. Like, I can't open it. It hurt really bad. And so they finally stopped. And I'm just in the room. They left the light off. And I'm just like looking up at the ceiling. I don't know. I'm still kind of just in that shell shock mode. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anybody here. I don't have anybody that loves me, that cares about me. Like, and I'm not thinking these thoughts at the time, but that was the reality of it. I was just there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were no thoughts really going through my mind. I was just there because, I didn't know anything else. But eventually I see, Big Mama come. I remember seeing Big Mama. And I'm not saying she was the first person, which is my dad's mom. I'm not saying she was the first person that showed up, but that's the first person I remember seeing. And I just remember thinking, like, finally, you know what I'm saying? I'm safe. I'm safe. Nobody's going to try to kill me. And, everything's good. Even though all of this stuff just happened, just the fact that Big Mama was there, I'm like, I'm good. Everything is good now. And from there, it's just, the motions at the hospital, trying to get us back together, get us back right. Big Mama, she never left my side. To my knowledge, I don't remember her ever leaving my side, even though they was trying to take me to see my baby brother. And I remember being scared that I was going to see the bodies again. I remember being scared that I was going to see my dad and my older brother and stuff. And so she came with me there. I went to see my little brother. My other side of the family, they showed up. And like I said, just, shaking us back, getting us back right. And eventually it's time to leave the hospital, and I'm thinking I'm leaving with Big Mama. That's what made sense to me, is that we would leave with Big Mama, because we knew that side of the family much better than we knew my mom's side of the family. And like I said, I felt like they didn't even really like care for us that much, because I was always getting fussed at because I was a handful. So I'm like, it makes sense to me that I'm gonna go with Big Mama. But we didn't leave with Big Mama. And so I don't want to make it sound bad, but that feeling of safety, like, I lost it. Like, I was back to being scared. I was back to not knowing exactly, what's about to happen, because I know that I'll be getting fussed at. I know that they are, they're going to discipline. They're all about the discipline. And so now I don't have mom and dad. I don't have D with me anymore, my older brother. It's just me and my baby brother. I don't know what my dad was willing to do. I don't know what they're willing to do. Because even though my dad was doing some weird stuff, like, he was just always angry, and he was beating on us with just random objects, like, I knew there was an element of love there somewhere. And I'm not saying that they didn't love me. I'm not saying, I didn't know. I just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was leaving with them and I just didn't know what to expect. But sure enough, like when we got back down here, when we got to Lake Charles, like they had me set up. Like they had a sleeper sofa set out for me. Had a Nintendo, video games, snacks, drink, radio, TV, everything, like anything I could have needed, they had it set up for me. Movies, just the whole nine. And so I'm really like, I don't know how long we were in the hospital, but I remember just sitting there and being so like far disconnected from what had just happened. It was kind of like it was just another day. And I'm trying to put emphasis on that because when you're dealing with a kid that's going through grief and going through trauma, I know my little mind couldn't process what was going on. I disassociated so far away from it that I was sitting there playing the Nintendo and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if they got the fireworks. I wonder if they got the firecrackers out the trunk of the car. Like, not focus on the fact that I didn't have my mom and dad anymore. Not focus on the fact that I didn't have D anymore. I was playing PlayStation. I was playing Nintendo, happy, and wondering if we had got the firecrackers out the trunk. If they had got the firecrackers out the trunk. So like, it's not as simple as saying, oh, you know, he's handling it well. If he's 7, 8 years old, he doesn't really have a choice but to handle it well, in my opinion. Something traumatic like that, something that's kind of like really out the ordinary. I hate to say it like that, because I don't want to say it like that. I want to take that back. Just traumatic situations, stuff that little minds aren't really capable of processing 100%. I didn't know the gravity of the situation. I didn't know what life was about to hand me after this situation, because it was more traumatic events after this. It was battling my mind for like a large portion of my life. I had no idea what it was all going to entail. I was just 6 years old and I was happy to have a Nintendo, and I was hoping that I could still pop firecrackers for the 4th of July. Then it came time for the funeral, well, the wake. We had the wake in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And the funeral was in Monroe, Louisiana. And so it comes time for the wake. And like I said, I'm terrified. I don't want to see the bodies again. I had my share of that for the rest of my life, honestly. But 6 years old, I got to go with whichever way life is pulling me. So they take me to the wake. We get to the wake. All of the bodies in there. I walk around with my grandparents. And like I said, I'm so far disconnected from what actually just happened to me. I get to my mom's body and she's bruised up. And I remember associating her bruises with something that my dad had done to her versus it being the car accident that had done that. Because that was my first time seeing her, that since the car accident was at the wake. I didn't, you know, the grotesque images that I had of my dad and my older brother, I didn't have that of my mom. So I didn't know really what to expect when I saw her. I was kind of scared to see because I hadn't actually seen her. But the bruises, man, I remember associating that with something that my dad had did versus it being the car accident that caused it. Because my mind was, like I said, it was just disassociated. It was very much disassociated from what had happened. And I remember being confused because like everybody's crying. I didn't understand why everybody was crying. Like I said, I knew clearly that my parents had passed, but I couldn't understand why everybody was crying. And I couldn't understand why everybody was running up to me and, you know, hugging me and telling me they love me and sliding me a little $2, $3, $4. And because I'm far from the kid that you just just run up to and just want to embrace. I'm really like a Dennis the Menace type of kid. Like, I'm the one that frustrates you, that you want to whip, that you feel like the parents ain't disciplining right. Like, I'm that kid. And so for all of this to be happening, all of this just like all of a sudden this abundance of affection is being shown towards me. Like, I remember feeling weirded out about it. I'm like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, it was a confusing time for me. I remember seeing Big Mama again. I was happy to see Big Mama, and I run up to her, and I'm like, Big Mama, I was like, I want to go with you. I want to go with you. I was like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here. And she's like, you know, I wish I could take you, basically. She was like, but I can't take you. And so broke my heart again, which I know she wasn't trying to break my heart, but it did break my heart again that I could, because I thought I was going to like finagle my way and get her to agree to take me and stuff. I thought it was that simple, but it was a whole custody battle we had to go through. And like I said, the funeral was in Monroe, but they left me. And I'm pretty sure, I remember hearing them saying they didn't want me to go because they didn't want me to like look at the spot where it happened or something to that effect. Be reminded of anything. And I sure, like I said, that railroad track stuck out to me. I definitely would have been looking for it. I definitely would have been watching out the window the entire trip just to see that railroad track. And I would have known where it happened and stuff. So they left me. And they left me with one of my aunts on my mom's side of the family. And I love this aunt to death. I'm not trying to make it sound bad. She likes to watch horror movies, right? I didn't want to see anything like bodies, gore, none of that stuff, because it was fake for everybody else. It was just TV for people, but like that was real for me. Like, I saw that real life type of stuff with bodies being in just not normal positions. And like I said, my dad, I woke up and saw him and he had blood all down his face and it looked like he had a dent in his head, and it was too much for me. I didn't want to see that type of stuff. So I remember just making me a little pallet. Well, she had a pallet made for me at the foot of her bed. And I remember just like taking the cover and just like covering my head up and going to sleep, because I didn't want to wake up and I didn't want to see like what was on TV, or I didn't want to see like my dad or my older brother or anything like that. And that's something that I struggled with for a long time too. It's just like the simple fact to open my eyes. It was kind of terrifying for me for a while. But after that, like, it's just life. It's time to like get acclimated to being in Lake Charles. As far as I knew at that time, I'm going to be living with my mom's side of the family. There was still a custody battle that had to take place, but in my mind, this is where I'm living now. So it's time to get like acclimated and start adjusting to life in Lake Charles, because it's way different than life in Atlanta. In Atlanta's not the biggest city in the world, but it's way bigger than Lake Charles, and it's a much faster pace than Lake Charles. And so I got to get used to where it's a slower pace, and where I'm used to running an apartment complex by myself all day, me and my older brother, and just come home and eating and just leave again, and having very minimal supervision, to being at my mom's side of the family where they live on a dead-end street at the very end of the street, and it's private property, like it's fenced off, and it's pretty much all family that lives on the street. Like, I'm being I'm under the microscope now. Like, I'm going from being wild and free to being under a literal microscope. They can see my every move, and they correct my every misstep. They judge my every move. Like, never been watched that hard in my life thus far. Even though I'm just 6 years old, it's new to me. So I'm getting in trouble left and right, because I didn't really have very many rules when it came to running around the apartment complex, versus they had all kinds of rules about everything. Anything you could think of, they had a rule for it. So it was time to get used to just living life with them, right? So go through the custody battle, they get custody of us. And I don't know the exact timeline of this. Like I said, I'm 36 years old now. But at some point, they get full custody of us. We're living with them now full time. They are our guardians now. And so growing up with them was kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. It was such a major adjustment for me going from Atlanta to Lake Charles. And then they're super like religious. They believe in spirits and stuff. And they also like, they don't deal with the emotions of it. They don't deal with, like, there's no such thing as like being depressed, basically. Like, you just don't talk about it and you just go through it, and that's just what it is. So like, I never saw them cry about it. I wasn't really allowed to talk about it. Not really. I wasn't allowed to talk about it because it was almost like taboo. I remember one time waking up in the middle of the night crying. I have an older sister, by the way. She was already being raised by my grandparents. I remember waking up in the middle of the night crying one time, and I woke her up, and she's trying to figure out why I'm crying and stuff. I tell her I'm missing mom, I miss dad, all of this. And she, you know, she comforted me or whatever. She told me basically what you would tell a 6-year-old, you know, you got to pray about it basically, and it'll be okay, you know, stop crying about it, etc., etc. So I was kind of hurt in that situation, but then it was another time when I went to talk to my grandmother about it, and she kind of like shot me down, and she's like, basically, if you don't let it go, if you don't stop crying about it, if you don't get over it, basically, they can't rest. Referring to my mom, my dad, and my older brother. They can't rest if you don't let it go, if you don't stop crying about it. And in my mind, I was probably like 7 or 8 at that time. In my mind, when she says that they can't rest, I'm thinking like they're in their graves and they're like having seizures and beating on the door and stuff and trying to get out the casket, trying to get unburied, all because I won't stop crying about it. Like, it's my fault. You know what I'm saying? And so I shut up about it because I didn't want to be the reason why they couldn't rest. And it was a scary thought. It was a scary thought to think that because I was crying, they were not all the way gone, put it like that. They're not all the way expired. So it was a scary thought for me. Like I said, they believe in spirits. I had an aunt that lived with us, and she would always say stuff like, you know, oh, I saw your little brother playing in the front yard. I mean, your older brother playing in the front yard today. And I'm like, I'm thinking it's for real. I'm riding my bike underneath the carport, back and forth underneath the carport, because I had felt a chill go down my back. And my first time feeling a chill go down my back. And I told my auntie about it, or I told my grandmother about it. And she's like, that's just your older brother playing with you. So now for like 2 hours, I'm riding back and forth in the same spot on my bike, trying to get that same sensation, get that chill to run down my back, because I'm thinking that means that my older brother is outside. Like, just stuff like that, stuff that really confused me. Like, I wasn't allowed to talk about it, but they were allowed to tell me they were seeing these spirits and that they're still interacting with me, and that's a scary thought to me, you know. But I'm doing good in school is what really kind of like had me thinking that as long as I stuck with this, like, I was getting compliments for it because I was doing really well in school. I was making like straight A's. My first grade teacher took me to the 5th grade class one time, put me in front of the class, gave me a 5th grade book, and made me read it. And when I got to the word invisibility, like, everybody just kind of like lost their minds, and it was like this whole big thing where it's like, this guy's a brainiac, all this other stuff. So I'm getting like recognition for that. I'm not being scolded. I'm not being judged about, you know, how I'm doing this wrong or doing that wrong. Not getting in trouble, whatever. It's like they're actually like proud of me. This is something that I feel like will make them, I don't want to say love me, but it would make them approve of me, I guess you would say. It would make them stop making me feel like I was just like a problem, because that's what I was feeling like. throughout this time of trying to adjust to living under their rules and stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna stick with the good grades. I'm gonna just keep on making good grades. And I did all through elementary school. I was like straight A student, always winning awards and stuff like that. Always getting recognized in the newspaper for certain things. Just like like an academically gifted kid. But that brought its own set of problems. Like, I dealt with bullying right after the car accident. And I'm not gonna say I was the bully in Atlanta, but I was definitely like one of those kids that, I mean, I would pick on other kids. I don't know. I don't want to say I was a bully. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I don't know. But I definitely was. I was more docile, put it that way. When I got here, I was more docile than I was in Atlanta. Much more docile. I was hyper aware of death. I was scared that everything could kill me. Like, I didn't want to do anything that seemed even the slight bit risky. I didn't want to feel the way that my body felt after the car accident. Super scared of stuff, like terrified. I was just a different kid, and I was dealing with bullying and stuff at school. You know how kids get, they start cracking jokes and all of that, mama jokes, daddy jokes, and I would take it to heart. Like, I'd want to like fight, but I didn't want to fight because I was scared of my grandparents and what they would do to me. So it was just like it was hard to adjust off top. And I didn't really have to adjust at the school. I knew kids at the school. I wasn't just a new kid. We had actually lived in Lake Charles for like 4 months. Maybe like the year before the car accident. My dad had one of his schemes, one of his grand ideas. He read something about a man becoming a millionaire because he left his wife and his family for like a year or for like 6 months or something like that. So he had dropped us off in Monroe with my dad's side of the family, with his mom, and he was doing whatever he was doing to become a millionaire, I guess. But we wound up getting kicked out of Monroe because of me, basically. My older brother didn't want to give me his crayons. I wanted his crayons, so I called 911 on him and told him he was choking me, and then I hung up. And then they called back, and I picked up the phone, and it was like, Monroe PD. And I'm like, boom. I'm like, dang, I hung the phone up, and I'm like, how they get my phone number and all this other stuff? So they eventually, it was like 2 units pulled up to my grandmother's house, and I don't know what all transpired between my mom and my grandmother, but we wound up kicked out. Walking down the street, me, her, my baby brother, and my older brother. Wound up at like an Ace Hardware store where he had to make a phone call. My older brother had to make a phone call for my mom. And then we wound up on a Greyhound bus coming to Lake Charles. So I wasn't dealing with being like the new kid. I had friends that I had made already when I moved down, when we had came down here for the first time. So it wasn't that. It was just, I was like, and I didn't deal with bullying when we were down here, because we did go to school while we were down here that time. Didn't deal with bullying then. It was just that I was a different child. I was super sensitive. Like I said, I'd start crying when you start cracking jokes about my mom because they had just died, and I didn't have my security blanket anymore, my older brother. Like, I didn't have anybody that I felt had my back. Like, ride or die, like if something happens, I got somebody that really has my back. I didn't feel that because I didn't have him anymore. I was just a different kid, man. I was a completely different kid. And I don't think that my grandparents even really recognized it. I don't think that they really saw it. I think they were just so determined in like getting me to conform with life in Lake Charles that it kind of just went over their heads. And they did like put me in a psychiatrist. I'm not trying to take nothing away from them. They put me in a psychiatrist for a little while, but I think that was more geared towards the custody battle. I think they just wanted to prove to the courts that they were doing more for me than my dad's side of the family was doing. Or doing more for us than my dad's side of the family was doing. Which is unfair because they were living all the way in Monroe. There was only so much that they would have been able to do in the first place. So, I don't know. It was just, you know how that goes, you know. So I did go to a psychiatrist for a little while. But, you know, I don't think it was long enough to really get anything accomplished. And I was just 6 years old. I wasn't even dealing with it yet. Like, it was just another day. It was just another part of life for me. Like, I didn't even understand that this is something that's not really common. Remember when I said common earlier, like, or ordinary. It's not, at least in my experience, it's not very ordinary to run into somebody who lost their parents and saw it happen, you know, at that age. And I know it's happened to people, but I'm just saying, like, I've never met anybody that I could have the conversation with where they could relate exactly to my story because they went through the same thing. But I don't think they even noticed that I was just a different kid. I was a different kid at that point. And I kind of felt like picked on a little bit at home because, like I said, anytime I was doing anything, it seemed like there was just always something wrong with anything that I did, or the things that I did right kind of would never mention, but when it was time for something wrong that I was doing, like, it was getting highlighted and they were quick to like get on it and correct it. So I just felt like real, just like black sheepish almost, even from the beginning, even down to like certain aunts. I don't want to put anybody's names out there or anything, but there were certain aunts where you could tell like they didn't want us there. Like, they were annoyed by the fact that my grandparents were raising us, that we were living with my grandparents. They didn't like it. And you could tell by the way that they would handle us. It just, I always wondered why we got handled a little bit differently. So it was a lot of that going on. Like I said, I'm still not even to the point where I'm processing it yet. I'm still just elementary school. I'm trying to make good grades because I feel like that's going to get some type of approval to where they would, like, you know, where I wouldn't feel that feeling where it felt like they didn't want me here, they didn't want me around and stuff. So, and, you know, trying to develop those relationships with my family members. With my grandmother and my grandfather, obviously it's a little bit easier because I'm in the house with them. But, I mean, then it got to the point where my grandparents, like, separated or whatever, so it was 2 houses in 1 yard. But I was with them every day. But as far as like aunts, uncles, cousins and stuff like that, you know, I had to start forming those relationships and stuff. And that was, honestly, while I'm going through this, I'm going through the bullying and I'm going through feeling like kind of like black sheepish. It was my little cousins really that made me feel like I was actually worth something, because they were just excited to be my little cousin. They would like watch me play the PlayStation, watch me draw, because I used to draw a lot. They're just like real excited to be my little cousin. And that's something that really like kept me going. Not that I was like thinking about giving up at 7 or 8 years old. It was just something that kept me going, as far as feeling a worthiness about myself, because I was starting to not feel very worthy of much, even at a very young age. I did have an older cousin, Steve. He spent a lot of time with me. And out of everybody, I feel like I was developing the closest relationship with him. He would come play basketball with me, play Sega with me, take me to go see movies. He was into anime, so he would bring me to his house. He lived across the street with his mom. Take me to his house, we'd watch anime and stuff, we'd get Popeyes, pizza, or whatever. Like, he was really spending a whole lot of time with me. He taught me how to shave and everything. So I developed a relationship with him. And that was something that kind of kept me grounded too, throughout the whole little ordeal. What else? Like I said, this is like my life story. There's so many details into it and stuff that happened along the way. Even down to like, so my grandfather was blind. I didn't mention that. My grandfather was blind. My grandmother never learned how to read and write. But my grandfather, like, he never stopped working. Like, he never stopped, I guess you would call it tinkering, right? He always had some little project he was working on, something that he had going on in his mind that he was working on. And eventually I got old enough to where he used me for his eyes, basically. And so he was teaching me how to, you know, do carpentry work, do all type of work, carpentry, plumbing, you name it, I probably done it. And I probably still know a little something about it because of him. But started working with him, and I'm like I said, I'm making good grades and I'm trying to like earn acceptance and stuff like that. And so I tell him one day, I'm like, yeah, I want to be a scientist. I don't know how the conversation started, but I told him I wanted to be a scientist. And he's like, you don't want to be a scientist. He was like, because you got to move away. You're never going to see your family. And I'm thinking in my mind, like I said, I'm a young kid. I'm thinking in my mind, I just lost my whole family. The last thing I want to do is get a job where I'm never going to see my family. That don't even make sense. So like that kind of like killed a lot of the desire that I had to pursue any of those types of careers. The ones that you had to go to school for extended amounts of time and stuff like that, or that I felt like you had to move away to go be in that field. I lost desire for it. Like, it cut like just that one little statement, because I associated with the fact that I lost my family. I wanted to see my family, and I didn't want to do anything that would take away from that. So like I lost my drive. And he was raising me to be a worker anyway. Like, he was proud that I was making good grades, but in his mind, I think he went blind like maybe in 1970 or maybe 1969, something like that. In his mind, the people that made money were the construction workers, were the people that worked the machinery and all of that stuff like that. So like, he was perfectly fine with me making good grades and stuff like that, but ultimately I think he was like envisioning a world where I was going to be a worker. He didn't really necessarily think that the jobs that I was excited for were jobs that were going to like take care of a family. In his mind, before he went blind, the jobs that took care of a family really well were the jobs that, you know, you did some type of construction, or you used your back, basically. You used your muscles. So I feel like that's what he was kind of preparing me for, and he kind of like cut me down in a way that made me kind of like take a shift away from what could have been. And I'm not saying it in a regretful way, just the facts are the facts. That did like take away from my desire to like continue to make good grades. And I didn't stop making good grades yet. I was in 5th grade, maybe 4th or 5th grade when this happened. So I didn't stop making good grades yet, but it just kind of put a seed in my mind where it's like, okay, I want a job where I'm going to see my family every night, every day, every night. Like, I don't want anything else, nothing that's going to make me be away from them for extended amounts of time, none of that stuff like that. I'm already thinking about having a family at that age. It's crazy to me. But yeah, that's what happened. So like, those type of mental things like went on that I know weren't intentional. It wasn't intentional on their end. My grandparents gave me everything that they could, like, that they knew how to give me. They grew up in the Great Depression. They handled things the way that they handled things. I even have family members, you know, me having to like talk out certain things and go and seek counseling, and, you know, even at one point being on medications and things like that. I have some family members that have gone through like traumatic stuff, and they're like completely unfazed by it. And that's cool. I'm not knocking that, but not everybody's going to be built that same type of way. And I feel like they tried to handle my situation the same way as they handled, which I don't even think, at this point, they hadn't handled any situations like this. It's not something that anybody really is just going to off top have experience on how to handle it. It's something so random. Parents expect, you know, to go before their kids go. And so when my parents went, you know, my grandparents, they didn't have any experience with it, you know. So I'm not knocking anything that they did, but I mean, it did affect some of the things did hinder me as far as my mental development, I guess you'd say, my mental health development, I guess, along the way. It kind of hindered the healing process, the journey. Just some of the things that they believed in, some of the ideas that they planted in my head, and some of the methods that they had for, you know, for me to deal with it, which was no method, unfortunately. Like, talking about it was so taboo, even to the point, like, it was so confusing, man. It was so confusing. So on one hand, they didn't want me to talk about it. But then on another hand, like, I remember hearing them one time, and they were just saying like, yeah, you know, it was just their time to go, and, you know, you can't question Jesus and all of this other stuff. You can't question God. And so I wanted, like I said, I'm begging for acceptance at this point. I'm begging for approval. At this point, like, I'm almost willing to do anything just to feel like some type of endearment, because I haven't felt it, you know, from the time my mom died pretty much to, you know, the point that I'm at. It's not really an endearing environment that I'm in. And I'm not trying to make it sound bad, but I just wanted like a hug from my mom. I just wanted that embrace. I just wanted that love. I don't know how to, at that age I wasn't able to explain it, but I knew what I was feeling, right? Like I was just begging to be approved of. I was begging for acceptance from the people that are raising me now. And I started calling my grandmother mom to kind of make it feel like a little more natural. Oh, back to the story. So I heard them say that about, you can't question God. It was just their time. So I want approval so bad. I go to my grandmother one day and I'm like, yeah, my mom. I was like, yeah, mom. I'm like, it was just their time. I was like, I accepted it because, you can't question God and all this other stuff like that. And she turned it around on me and she's like, it wasn't their time. She was like, that wasn't supposed to happen. They were still young, et cetera, and all of this other stuff. And I'm just like mind blown. I'm like, okay, so what do y'all want from me? Like, for real. Like, what do y'all want from me? Because I'm really trying to I'm trying to feel any type of love. I'm trying to feel any type of embrace from y'all. And it's just like, y'all keep on just cutting me down. It's like, y'all keep on playing these mind games with me where it's like, oh, we see the spirits but they can't rest and this, that, and the other. It was just messing me up. Like, I didn't know left from right, up from down. I didn't know what to do to deal with what I was feeling. And I had nowhere to go with it. And on top of that, I'm dealing with bullying at school. And I'm not really seeing very much good about myself. I'm not seeing something worth loving. I'm not seeing something worth being here. Like, it was getting bad. It was just getting to the point where I didn't know how to think. It felt like I was being punished for grieving, and it felt like I was being punished for accepting it. It felt like I was supposed to just pretend like I didn't see anything that I saw, and I was supposed to just let it go. It was tough. It was tough. This picture, this gift right here, like I said, this picture is super significant. And I'm gonna cut the story off right here, but there's so much more to the story that I want to get out because, like I said, it will help somebody. I used to didn't believe that it would help somebody. I just know that somebody out there can use what this story has to offer. But this picture right here terrified me for a very long time in my life. Very long time. I couldn't look at this picture. I couldn't look at it. Because I don't know if anybody else realizes it or if it does this for anybody else. I hope I don't make myself sound crazy. But if you look at a picture where the people are looking into the camera, right? And you standing over here, the picture is looking at you. But if you come over here and you're standing over here, the picture is looking at you, right? Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. This picture used to stare at me. It's so crazy that I'm able to look at this picture right now. Well, until I was probably 17, 18, probably past that. I couldn't stand to have this picture. At night, I would always sleep with my covers over my head. This picture was in my room. And it would give me goosebumps just passing in front of it. The picture was over my drawer. I didn't even look at it. I'd walk in my room with my head down because I didn't want to make eye contact with it. I'd go to my drawer. I'd be almost sick to my stomach trying to get my stuff out my drawer and get away from that picture. I sleep with the cover over my head and just have my nose and my mouth open outside of the blanket so that I could breathe because I didn't want to wake up at night and make eye contact with that picture. I didn't know what it was at the time. Now I understand because I woke up and I saw my dad face to face like that staring me in my eyes. It traumatized me. I couldn't look at the picture. I couldn't stand to see them looking at me because of that one event, right? So I asked my grandmother if she would take the picture down one day. I couldn't tell. Like I said, I couldn't verbalize why I was having these feelings about the picture. But I went to tell her, I asked her, I was like, Mom, can you take that picture down out of our room? I was like, it scares me. And she was like, that picture ain't gonna do you nothing. I'm not taking my picture down, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just like, man, I don't have any reprieve. Like, I don't have anywhere to go to feel the slightest bit better about what I'm feeling. I can't even explain what I'm feeling, but I know it don't feel good. And I know that I'm yearning. I'm like I said, I'm begging and pleading just for some type of acceptance, or for somebody to just say, I understand. To just give me a hug. And I know it sounds weak. Like I said, it's crazy how men are raised to feel like we're supposed to just be able to take all of these things. And maybe most men can. Kudos to those men. But when things happen to kids like that, like, I think you got to give kids a little bit more grace. I don't know. I needed something. I needed something more than just, I don't know. I like I said, I can't even fault my grandparents, because I can't even explain what I needed at the time. But I know I just needed to be heard. I needed to be hugged. Like, I needed to be embraced, because I wasn't getting that anymore. My mom would embrace me, but from the age of 6 years old, I didn't feel that embrace anymore. And we were a hugging family. My family, when we see each other, we hug each other. When we leaving each other, we hug each other. But I'm talking about that real life. Only so many people can call you mom, mom. Only so many people can call you dad, dad. Some people got big families. Some people got 20, 30 brothers and sisters and stuff like that. I just had 3 siblings. I had 2 that lived with me, and then I had my sister. I needed that embrace from somebody from your mom. You know, everybody knows what that motherly nurture is. Everybody knows what that is. This is a common thing. This is a universal thing. I needed that at that age. I needed that. And I wasn't getting it. I wasn't being heard. I wasn't being offered any solutions to deal with what I was going through. And it was slowly but surely building up. Like I said, my little cousins kept me kind of sane, because I felt worthy. I felt like worthwhile when they were around. With Steve, like, you know, even though I wouldn't open up to Steve about what I was going through, I still had a connection with him to where I felt like he wanted me around. Like, I wasn't a burden. Like, I wasn't just annoying, or just something was wrong with me all the time. Like, I wasn't doing stuff right. I could just be myself, and he, like, accepted me. So, like, that was the things that was keeping me going. And like I said, I'm still young at this time. I'm still in elementary school. I'm getting into 5th grade, getting ready to get out of elementary school. I'm still dealing with the bullying, all of the above. But I still do have, like I said, Steve and my little cousins that make me feel like stuff will be okay, I guess, sometimes. And it's not even that I need to feel like stuff will be okay. I'm still disassociated from it at this time. I'm not understanding how much it's affecting me. But I do know that I feel sad, I guess you would say. I feel hurt. I don't know. But yeah, that's elementary school years. Like I said, I was just trying to get used to being with my grandparents, and they're super strict, and I'm always messing something up. I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always getting disciplined, and they're picking apart my flaws. And even if I do make straight A's, if I don't get a perfect grade in handwriting, it's like all of the all A's doesn't even matter. Let's focus on this handwriting. You're messing up. And now I know they just wanted me to be the best that I could absolutely be. But I was already dealing with too much. I was already trying to just sort life out in general, because life had completely changed for me. And it was a battle. It was really a battle, to the point where, like, I started feeling negative things about myself. And so going into middle school, we all know the transition from elementary school to middle school. You know, that's a significant transition, as well as going from middle school to high school. But that transition from elementary school to middle school is where I really started to kind of like have negative thoughts and start to like not care about things. And I really start to like, instead of like going towards being like the American dream, where like I went through something and I'm, you know, this academically gifted kid and I got this bright future, I started taking a detour to where it's like I'm feeling like I don't have any reprieve. So why should I just keep on pushing to try to be accepted and try to be what I'm thinking that my grandparents want me to be and stuff? And so I start kind of like rebelling. I start kind of falling off, and that's when like things start getting a little bit darker. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely middle school years were definitely kind of like transformative for me. in a negative way. But yeah, I'm gonna stop the video right here. Emotionally taxing. This is the craziest thing I think I've done in a very long time. I really do appreciate if you sat here for this whole hour and 20 minutes and just listened to this. I appreciate you. I hope that I didn't like speed through this and I didn't make it. I hope I made some type of sense. I hope that so far you're able to like see if you're going through something like this, or if you know somebody that's going through something like this. I hope you're able to see some things in my story that can help you with somebody that's going through, even if it's not similar. Grief is grief, trauma is trauma. If you can help somebody else with something that I'm saying in this video, then I feel blessed just to be able to give that to somebody.